Today we're back with the video for the Martinsville Cup Series night race on Wednesday night. Wednesday night NASCAR. It's a thing that I've really started to enjoy. I think it's fun. It's made some really exciting races. Some fun nights during the week, especially if Corona, where I don't get to watch basketball. There's no baseball, no sports for me to watch, and you get a race in the middle of the week. It's nice. It gives me something to watch. All I really do is watch sports. So I'm really been enjoying this. It's going to be a really fun race to watch. Draftkings made salaries really interesting this week. We're going to get into that. I don't really understand what they were doing with a lot of salaries, but we got to work with it. Draftkings seems like it seems like for some drivers they're just really paying attention, and for other drivers they're just not at all. So it's been confusing to me. It's been interesting. I'm really interested to get into driver by driver with you guys, but before we get into that, we always got to do, we got to go to the track trends. I think this is really important, the track trends. So if you look at the average place differential of Martinsville, it's got a 6.13. It's really not one of the better place differential tracks. This is a racetrack where there's really only one groove, the bottom line. There's really no racing around the top line. You have to get the drivers to gain an edge on the straightaway, trying to get around them. It's a really interesting race, really strategical. If you're really into the strategy in NASCAR, or if you're kind of new to NASCAR, just been playing DraftKings, haven't really watched the races, if you're really into strategy in other sports, I think this is a race you will enjoy. There's a lot of strategy to go on with it, and it makes it, for me, one of my favorite races of the year to watch. And you put it at night, and it's just a different feel, man. I mean, just Wednesday night NASCAR is just a different feel. It's like Thursday night football. Thursday night football, some of the games suck, but some of them are really good. So that's what I feel about with this. I think it's going to be a really good race. I'm looking forward to it. It's probably been the most excited I've been for a race all year, other than when they came back from Corona. All right, so let's get into the lap sled. This is a track where there's usually one main dominator who's going to lead so many laps. I mean, this is a 500-lap race, and if you can see the last four races, the most laps led average is 358.5. So that is a ton of dominator points you're going to get, and a lot of those laps are going to be fastest laps. So this is a track where you're going to want to get 2 to 3 dominators in every lineup. As you see, the second most laps led, 81. I know it's not 358.5, but that's still a lot of points, and 40.75 for the third most laps led, and that's still a lot of points. So as long as you're getting the third most laps led, 40, and he doesn't finish really far back, that's going to be great. So you're going to want to get 2 to 3 dominators in every single lineup, and there are definitely ways to get that this week. I mean, there's a lot of value and a lot of dominators that aren't as expensive as they should be, in my opinion. So we'll get into that as well. If you look at where the most laps led start, it's on average been 6.5, second most laps led 3.75, and third most laps led 7.25. So that makes it interesting when you're looking at the drivers, because it really looks like you want someone inside the top 8 who you think is going to lead the most laps. And there's 2 drivers this week that I'll talk about that do not start in the top 8, but they're really good here, or they've been really good this year and have been leading a ton of laps. So it's going to make it interesting to consider if you really think they're going to be able to lead laps. In my opinion, I think they can. I think these stats are so based on drivers when they practice and then they qualify, and usually you can get a feel for the guys up front, where this is just a random draw. So I think it's interesting. I really like how the starting positions can kind of tell you the guys that are going to lead the laps. So let's get into driver by driver now. Oh, and there's drivers who advance 10 plus 5.25. I mean, yeah, that's going to be important this week, but the DraftKings made it hard to fit in guys that are going to finish 10 plus in every lineup, the amount that you want. So you're going to have to find some value, but we're going to find some value. I got a ton of value on this slate, I think, that can happen. And I think there's a lot of good players at top. All right, up first, we're going to start with Jimmie Johnson. I just don't get why DraftKings made him the most expensive guy. And it's like, he's the most expensive guy, and he's $12,500. Like, that's a lot, even for the most expensive driver. He starts 21st, which isn't, like, I mean, like, if he was starting 40th again, like he was at Charlotte, I'd understand it. But 21st? I mean, like, that's not that far back. And it's not like Jimmie Johnson this year coming in has been running, like, that fantastic. Like, an average finish is 7.25 in his last 5. It's good, but it's not what you want from someone starting 21st. Let's look at Jimmie Johnson from Martinsville. He's got an average finish of 17th at Martinsville over the last 2 years, and that ranks 17th. So he has not been so great here in the past few years. Over his whole career, he's been one of the best in Martinsville. So, and the way they've been running this year really shows me that, like, yeah, he could come out and dominate this race. Well, I don't know, dominate's a tough word, but he can come out and have a really good race and maybe even contend for the win. But is he my favorite play? No. At short tracks, he's got an average finish of 10.911 that ranks 11th. So that's good too, but still. For starting 21st, I don't know about that. His average running position at Martinsville is 17.4, that ranks 13th, and his average running position at short tracks is 14.14, that ranks 12th. And then, usually if you're paying $12,500 for somebody, you want him to be a dominator and want him to lead laps. Well, in the last 2 years at Martinsville, Jimmie Johnson 0 laps led. At the last 2 years at other short tracks, Jimmie Johnson has 0 laps led. So, I mean, what are we looking at here that really makes you think, oh, Jimmie Johnson, I really like him as a dominator play today? If you go back and look at Jimmie Johnson's stats from, like, 2010, then yeah, maybe, or well, not maybe, yeah, definitely, but, like, he's not the same driver anymore. I know he's been running better this year than he has in the past 2 years, but still not that great. Coming into this race, I just talked about the average finish of 7.25 and run position of 11.46, but that's still not, like, good enough. Jimmie Johnson, to pay off his salary without leading any laps, he has to come in first place. That will pay off his salary. But, I mean, obviously, you're going to get some fast laps and laps led in there if you're paying for Jimmie Johnson, so you're hoping for a top 5 of some of those. Is it possible? Yeah. Do I really like it? No. I don't really ever like paying so much for these PD guys because I just don't think they have a lot of dominator upside, and I think that's what you need. Like, especially for a 500-lap race, like, let's look at Denny Hamlin. If he leads 300 laps and finishes 5th, and Jimmie Johnson finishes 1st and leads 20, Hamlin's still going to outscore him by a ton. So, like, I don't get the reasoning for playing Jimmie Johnson here. If he wins and it burns me, okay, that's fine, but I'm probably not going to play any of him this week. That's all I have to say about that one. Up next, we got Denny Hamlin. He ranks 11,900, or his salary is 11,500, and he starts 12th today. This one is one of the drivers is talking about who is a guy who I think could lead a ton of laps. It does not start in a prime position to lead laps at Martinsville. But, again, like I said, I don't really think that these starting positions during this random draw period is as important because they you have drivers that, like, Denny Hamlin probably would have qualified, like, 5 to 6, 7. We would have seen him practice if he was fast anyway, and that would really lead you to believe if he could lead laps. I don't think him starting 12th is an indicator of if he's going to lead laps or not. I mean, we saw it in the Xfinity race the other day when Chase Briscoe started 11th, and he led a bunch of laps that race. So I don't think it's, like, as important. So Denny Hamlin, though, at Martinsville has been great. He's got average finish of 5.75, that ranks 3rd, and average finish at short tracks of 7, which ranks 2nd. So you just see he's been finishing really, really well here. 2nd and 3rd, 2 of the best in the business. His average running position at Martinsville now is the best in NASCAR. So he's been averaging running position of 5th, and that's 1st in NASCAR. His average running position at short tracks is 8.42, that ranks 6th. And laps led, Denny Hamlin's led 172 laps over the past 2 years at Martinsville. It's not the best, but it's 5th. And I mean, you know, if you're going to get 100 laps from Denny Hamlin, that's great. And his laps led at short tracks 399 over the last 2 years. So Denny Hamlin looks like he may not be the most optimal guy to play to lead laps, but the upside's definitely there. And he's got a floor of 11, or he starts 12th, I believe, right? Yeah, Elliott starts 11th. Hamlin starts 12th. So he has the PD upside, and he has dominator upside. So he's just a big upside guy. I really like him. Is he my favorite pick to lead a bunch of laps, the most laps? No. But could he do it? Yeah, certainly. I mean, it's Denny Hamlin. It's at one of his better tracks, and he's been running really well coming in to this race. Average finish in the last 5 of 2.66. I mean, that's minus 2 of them, where one of them he wrecked out at Bristol, and then Charlotte, the stupid thing falling out of his car. That was ridiculous. And his average running position in the last 5 is 6.64. So he's been running well. Gibbs looked great last week. You know, they had been looking to start the year, but at Atlanta they looked fantastic. They were looking like back to they have been. So if that speed carries over, Denny Hamlin definitely can get up front and lead laps and be a big play today. Up next, for 400 cheaper, we have Chase Elliott. Finally, Draftkings decided to price him up. I mean, last week he's 9,900, and honestly, he wasn't the best play. But Chase Elliott has been so good this year, and I just don't understand why Draftkings took him so long to price him up. Chase Elliott starts 11th. At Martinsville, he's got an average finish of 6th, that ranks 5th, an average finish at short tracks of 7.1, which ranks 3rd, an average running position of 9.166, which ranks 9th, that's at Martinsville, an average running position of 8.02 at short tracks, that ranks 4th. And coming into this race over the last 2 years, Chase Elliott's 49 laps led at Martinsville and 354 at short track. So Chase Elliott's been good here, not great, but at every track this year, Chase Elliott coming in has been good, not great. Now we're going, except for the road courses, he's always great there. Now we're going into the season where Chase Elliott's been so good, in my opinion. Probably has been the best driver so far this year, especially since we came back from Corona. So I really like Chase Elliott today. I really like him and Hamlin. It's just their starting spot is just not the optimal, in my opinion, to lead the laps. But they've been so fast this year. Chase Elliott's been so fast this year. Hendrick's been so fast this year. Would not surprise me to see him get up to the front and lead 100 laps and win this race. I mean, there's just nothing really to say negatively about Chase Elliott here. I mean, coming into this race, you look at his stats, average finish at 3.66, and that is 5 straight races. Average running position is 6.34 and 57.2 quality passes. He's just been going off recently. I mean, he wasn't great at Atlanta, but Atlanta wasn't one of his best tracks. He's definitely better at the short tracks. He's definitely better at Martinsville. Martinsville isn't his best short track. It's definitely going to be Bristol, but it's still a really good type of track for Chase Elliott and a really good track for Elliott overall. So if you think Chase Elliott can get up front and lead laps, yeah, he's great. He's just like Hamlin. He's got the floor of the PD, and he's got the upside of the Dominator potential. So Chase Elliott, great play. Now we got our third 11K guy. It's Kevin Harvick at 11,200. Now Harvick, I'm not as big on this week. It's just if you look at the price range for Harvick, I just like the other two more, and I'm gonna tell you why. Harvick starts 10th, so just like these guys, the starting spot is not the best for a lap sled. He's got an average finish of 7th, which ranks 6th, an average finish at short tracks of 7.25, which ranks 4th. So he's been good, but not like great. Like it's just not like 2 and 3 and 3. It's 4 and 6. So. And then you got an average running position at 8.7, which ranks 7th at Martinsville, and an average running position at short tracks at 10.26, which ranks 9th. But that's really not the big thing for me. The big thing for me is Harvick in last 2 years has not led a single lap at Martinsville. And now you get him in where the lap leaders have not come from starting. So, like, that also shows me that, yeah, maybe Harvick isn't like that. That trend fits for me with Harvick as, I don't think Harvick's going to be a main lap leader today. He might lead some because it's Kevin Harvick. He's been so fast this year. But for Kevin Harvick to be the best lap leader, I just think there's better potential for Chase Elliott and Denny Hamlin, and I'd rather play them. And they have more PD upside. Not a lot, but it's more. At short tracks over the last 2 years, Harvick's led 114 laps. So, like, that's good, but it's not great. Like, it ranks 10th. That's the 10th most laps led in the field, and he's the 4th most expensive driver. And if you're paying that much for Kevin Harvick, you need him to lead laps to pay off that salary. So, it just doesn't feel like to me that I just like Elliott and Hamlin more. It's like a few weeks ago when we had Harvick at it was Bristol, and I faded Harvick for Kyle Busch because they were like the same price, and I like Kyle Busch better in every aspect. It's the same thing here. I just like Chase Elliott and Denny Hamlin better in literally everything. So for me, the upside for Harvick isn't there as much. The possibility for Harvick to get that upside isn't there as much. And he might be lower. He might be higher owned than these guys, to be honest, because Harvick's been running better. I mean, he just won last week. People are going to see that. So they'll probably all be about the same ownership. I don't really know yet. I don't know if people are going to be off Harvick because they're seeing this. But in my opinion, I don't think they would. If I was just a casual playing, I would probably play Kevin Harvick. He's cheaper than these two. So up next, we're getting to the 10K range. You have Kyle Busch. Oh, wait, I want to rank the 11K range drivers for you first. If I was ranking the 11K range drivers, I'd go Hamlin, Chase, Harvick as their price. Up next, we got 10,700 Kyle Busch starting 7th. Kyle Busch is too cheap. Like, I mean, I know he hasn't had the best start to the year, but recently he's been running well. Finished 2nd or 3rd at Bristol, and he finished 2nd in Atlanta, so he's been running really well coming into this race now. Gibbs looks faster, they look better, and now you get a track where Kyle Busch has just been great at. I mean, average finish of 5.75 at Martinsville over the last year, so that ranks 3rd. Average finish of 5th, which ranks 1st at all short tracks. Average running position of 5.175, which ranks 2nd at Martinsville. And an average running position of 7.269 at short tracks, which ranks 3rd. So you have 3, 1, 2, 3. It's about the best you're going to get here. And, I mean, at Martinsville, the lap sled at Martinsville compared to the other short tracks hasn't been the best for Kyle Busch, but still 124 laps led over the last 2 years here, and 869 laps led at short tracks, that's the 3rd most in the field. So, yeah, I can understand why you'd, rather play Elliott, Harvick, Hamlin than Kyle Busch, but honestly, I think I might honestly rather play them both because we all know Kyle Busch has the upside. We all know how good of a driver he is, and Gibbs has been running really well, so that I feel like that just explosion race from Kyle Busch is coming, and Martinsville is just a great place for it to be. He starts in one of those spots where a lot of the laps led come from. It just looks really good. Average finish of 3rd in the last 5 races, average running position of 8.7 in the last 5 races. I think he looks really good here. He may not have as much lap-led upside as the guy we're about to talk about, but if you're telling me Kyle Busch can't get out front and lead laps, you're crazy. So if I wouldn't fade Kyle Busch this week, I'd rather play Kyle Busch and Harvick, rather play Kyle Busch and Jimmie Johnson. Hamlin and Elliott, I can understand wanting to play those guys more, but honestly, I wouldn't be opposed to saying, oh yeah, I'd rather play Kyle Busch and those two also. Truex Jr. might be the best play though. He starts 5th, 10,300. He has an average finish of 4th at Martinsville over the last year. That's the best in the field. At short tracks, he hasn't been as good. Average finish at 8.636, which ranks 8th, but it's still good. Like, it's not terrible. And at Martinsville, an average running position of 5.825, which ranks 3rd. An average running position at the short tracks, 7.133, which ranks 2nd. So that really more shows me that he's been running really well. The finishes just haven't shown for him at all the short tracks. Truex has never been known as a short track racer over his entire career, but in the past few years he's been picking it up. I mean, it's just been way better in the past few years than he has through his whole career. So, In the last 2 years, Martin Truex Jr. has 486 laps led at Martinsville, and he has 1,117 laps led at short tracks over the past 2 years. So that's first and second for those two stats. And I mean, Martin Truex Jr. he starts fifth. That's in that optimal spot. Will he get to the lead laps really early? Maybe, probably not. He probably won't jump out to the early lead, but a caution or two gets him back up there. And like I said, Gibbs has been running really, really well recently. They look like they're about time for an explosion. If I were to pick one guy to win this race this week, it would be Truex or Kyle Busch. Those are my two picks to win a race. They haven't won a race this year. It feels like they're due. They've been racing really well coming in. Truex, the finishes haven't been there, but he's been running well. 8.52 average running position. That's just right up there for everybody else. I think Truex is a great play today. I think Truex has more lap led upside than Kyle Busch, one because of his starting spot, and one because he's just been a little bit better at leading the laps here. But both of these two are great plays, and they're both great lap led guys. If you want me to rank the 10,000s, I think I would maybe slightly take Truex over Busch. But honestly, people might play Truex more than Busch. I might want to rather play Kyle Busch if he's going to be lower owned. So that one comes down to ownership for me. In all honesty, I'll probably just have the same amount of both. They're both really, really good plays. All right, up next we have Joey Logano, 9,900, starting third. Logano's good too, just not as good as Truex and Busch, and I mean it's reflected in the price. He starts third, has an average finish at Martinsville of 8.5, which ranks 8th, an average finish of 8.08 at short tracks, which ranks 6th, an average running position of 6.725 at Martinsville, which ranks 5th, and an average running position of 8.2 at short tracks, which ranks 5th. And coming into this race, he has 314 laps led at Martinsville over the last 2 years and 702 at short tracks over the last 2 years. So he's been running really well at Martinsville. He won a big playoff race here a few years ago. If you remember that crazy finish, you should go look it up. Joey Logano versus Martin Truex Jr. It's one of the best finishes in a while in NASCAR. Logano's run well here. He starts third. He has huge potential to get out to an early lead. I mean, he's got to pass Almirola, which shouldn't be a problem. And his teammate, can he pass his teammate? Yeah, he's been better than him in the past year. So I can totally see how Joey Logano gets out and leads a big chunk of the early laps. Will he win? He's not my pick to win, but I mean, 100 laps led for Joey Logano is totally in the cards. So I definitely like that pick. I'm definitely going to have my shares of Joey Logano this week. Doesn't really have a floor at all, but that's fine. I'm always looking for upside when I'm playing tournaments. If you're playing cash, Logano's probably not the way to go. But if you're playing tournaments, yeah, Joey Logano. Up next, we got Brad Keselowski. Yeah, this is an interesting one. Like, you think about Brad Keselowski, you don't really think of a short track racer, but to be honest, he's been running so well at short tracks over the past few years. Won Bristol a few weeks ago, he led a big chunk of laps there, and now you get him at 9,500. 9,500 is too cheap. He starts 6th. He has an average finish of 4.75 at Martinsville, which ranks 2nd. At short tracks, an average finish of 8.307, which ranks 7th. An average running position of Martinsville is 6.25, which ranks 4th. And an average running position at short tracks of 6.841, which ranks 1st. So you look at those stats, and they're just mind-blowing how good Keselowski's been at short tracks. And then on top of it, he is the most laps led at Martinsville over the last 2 years, and the second most laps led at short tracks in the past 2 years. And he starts at, where's the most laps led start from? 6.5. Brad Keselowski starts 6th. So, if all the math works out, Brad Keselowski should be the most laps led leader. I'm going to be playing a ton of Keselowski. He's been running so well. He's been running well recently. 2 wins in the last 4 races. There's really not a lot of downside to Keselowski, in my opinion. I mean, yeah, he doesn't really have as much of a floor, but the upside's there. The upside's huge. And honestly, I think people are just going to play Busch and Truex more. I don't think people are going to play Keselowski as much because they just don't, it's Brad Keselowski. It's not Kyle Busch and Martin Truex Jr. He's a big name, but he's not as big of a name. So I really like Keselowski. I think if there's the Penske cars look just as good as the Gibbs guys this week. They've been running well too. All of them have been having good finishes. A few wins. Logano has 2 wins. Keselowski's 2 wins. Blaney's got one coming for him. Is this week maybe? So yeah, I mean Keselowski looks great. Up next we got Kurt Busch 9,200. Kurt Busch is going to be really low owned, and honestly, because that's probably me in the optimal lineup, we'll see. Probably not. Kurt Busch just doesn't feel like he's got a lot of upside here, starting 9th place at 9,200. He's got a track average of Martinsville of 8.75, which ranks 9th, an average finish of 10.307 at short tracks, which ranks 10th, an average running position of 10.85 at Martinsville, which ranks 10th, an average running position of 11.046 at short tracks, which ranks 10th. So I just really expect him to that's what he's going to do. He's just going to hover around the 10th spot, and that's where he's going to finish. I mean, no laps led at Martinsville over the last 2 years. He's been better at short tracks because Bristol's been a really good track for Kurt Busch, but at Martinsville, it's just not been one of his better tracks. I just don't really see Kurt Busch getting up front leading laps. I really just see him hovering around the same spot, and that's not going to pay off his salary. So Kurt Busch is not my play today. Alex Bowman, Yeah, Alex Bowman's got a win coming for him. Again, I think he's been running so well, always consistent up front. Some stupid stuff happens and screws him over, but I don't think this is the track he's going to get the win at. 8,900 starting 8th place. Martinsville just hasn't been good. Honestly, short tracks as a whole have not been good for Bowman in his career. An average finish at 12.66, which ranks 13th. An average finish at short tracks of 14.45, which ranks 16th. An average running position of short tracks of 17.5, which ranks 14th. An average running position at that was Martinsville. This one's short tracks of 16.733, which ranks 18th. No laps led at any short tracks. Oh, I'm sorry, he's 1 lap led at a short track over the last 2 years. So I just don't. I mean, it's just not his place, and there's not really a lot of PD upside for him at Bristol earlier this year. It's not like he was running great or anything in the other short track race. So this isn't his type of track. It's 1.5 miles, 1 mile tracks, great for Alex Bowman, but the short tracks just haven't been his thing. I'm probably not going to play Alex Bowman. I just don't really see a ton of upside there. I mean, yeah, there is if he gets up front and leads laps, but I just don't expect Alex Bowman to be a dominator today. Up next, we got Clint Boyer. Clint Boyer, to me, I think this is the sneakiest play on the slate. I don't think people are going to want to play him because they're going to just see Blaney for 200 more starting on the pole. But Clint Boyer at Martinsville, an average finish of 9.66, which ranks 10th. Average finish at short tracks of 7.4166, which ranks 5th. An average running position of 8.85, which ranks 8th at Martinsville, and an average running position at Bristol of 8.9846, which ranks 7th. That's not really what I'm interested in, though. Clint Boyer over the last 2 years has led 216 laps at Martinsville and 405 at short tracks. That's interesting. For someone who starts 4th place and should finish in the top 10, if Clint Boyer can get out front and lead laps, and he's basically the same price as Blaney and outscore Blaney, that's going to be so much leverage on the field because I don't think people are going to want to play Clint Boyer. They're just going to see Blaney on the pole. Blaney's been faster. Everyone knows Blaney's a better driver. They're just going to play him. But Clint Boyer's been so good here over the past years. He even has a win here 2 years ago. This race 2 years ago, Clint Boyer won. So, it's just... And he's been running so well. I mean, he's clearly got the Harvick setup on that car. He's got an average finish of 15 in the last 5, but, I mean, that could be a little skewed because you saw what happened to him at Atlanta. He led a bunch of laps. He was going to be in the optimal lineup at Atlanta, and then he had tire issues the whole day, and it screwed him. But if you look at his average running position at 9.04, I think that tells more of a story than his average finish. Clint Boyer has been running so well this year. Would not put it past Clint Boyer to get out front, lead a ton of laps, and be the best play on the slate today. I mean, he's just got if he outscores Ryan Blaney, who I'm about to talk about, that's going to be huge because I really think people are going to just play Ryan Blaney because he's so cheap. You get a dominator price player, 8,400. This is the lowest dominator I'm willing to go. And I mean, if you can plug in Kyle Busch and Ryan Blaney, have a ton of salary left over to find some good guys. So people are going to want to do that. Is Ryan Blaney a good play? I'm not going to tell you not to play him. I'll tell you that much. He's got an average finish at 8th at Martinsville. That ranks 7th. An average finish of short tracks at 12.36, which ranks 13th. An average running position at Martinsville 7.025, which ranks 6th. An average running position of 9.741 at short tracks, which ranks 8th. So Blaney's been good here. Nothing great. But Ryan Blaney's like Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman. Like, their stats aren't going to look as great coming in this year because they haven't been as good this year. But now this is the year they're really taking that next step. And they're really becoming really, really good drivers in NASCAR. At Martinsville, over the last years, Ryan Blaney is 145 laps led, and at short tracks, 584. So he's been good at the short tracks, especially, and Martinsville's been a good one. It's not Bristol's definitely has been his best short track, but Martinsville's been very good for him too. So if you're going to play Ryan Blaney, I do not hate it. He's going to be chalk this week. People are going to play him because they see a guy starting him first who's a good driver who can lead a bunch of laps, who's good here. So he's going to be chalky. That's why I'm saying Clint Boyer could be the sneaky guy to pivot off of Ryan Blaney. And Christopher Bell we're about to get into. He's a good play. I'm not going to tell you not to play Ryan Blaney. I'll be playing some Ryan Blaney, but if I were being completely honest, I don't see Blaney being the highest lap leader here. I just don't. It's just there's other guys that are starting around the same spot like Logano and Truex and Busch and Keselowski who I just think can all get up front and lead more laps than them. Up next we got Christopher Bell at 8,200. So Draftkings priced up Christopher Bell, but they really didn't price him up enough. I don't really, only race at a short track we have with Christopher Bell is at Bristol or this year. We finished 9th, but let's just not look at that. I don't want to use a one sample size race to really get into it. So we're going to just look at the last 5 races for Christopher Bell coming in. He has an average finish of 13.6, an average running position of 16.42, and 33.8 quality passes. And he starts 33rd, or 32nd. And they priced him up. Good for them. They should have priced him up. But to be honest, they really didn't price him up enough. All Christopher Bell needs to pay off that salary is top 22. and he's got an average finish of 13.6, an average running position of 16.42 coming in. Yeah, that's pretty much smashing that salary. Now, the one problem for me with Christopher Bell is that this is Martinsville, which is a tough track anyway for rookies, and it's at night. It's going to be a wild race, and Christopher Bell has shown that could get caught up in wrecks. Now, on the other hand, in the Xfinity Series, Christopher Bell was dominant at short tracks. He was so good. So it's a tough one for me. He's going to be chalky. It's hard to get away from him, especially, you can go get, you can get Blaney or Boyer for 200 more, which I definitely like better, but Christopher Bell, if he finishes top 16, he's going to kill his salary, and you're going to need him if you want to win the tournament. So Christopher Bell's a good play. You just got to hope he doesn't wreck, and that's definitely something a little scary. I wouldn't go completely overboard with Christopher Bell, but you want to play a good bit of him. If you're playing one lineup, I would play Christopher Bell, though. Matt Kenseth. I do not understand why Draftkings keeps pricing him higher. $8,000 for Matt Kenseth. He starts 20th, so everyone's like, oh, PD. But look at what Matt Kenseth's been doing this year since he's been in that 42 car. Last 5 races, an average finish of 22 and an average running position of 20.16. That is not good. Matt Kenseth needs a top 12 to pay off that salary. I don't really think I need to say much more about it. He hasn't been even close to that. So we really think Matt Kenseth's now going to come in at Martinsville at a night race and come in here and get a top 12? Probably not. If he does, oh well, so be it, but it's just not my play of the day. Bubba Wallace, 7,800, starting 23rd. Bubba hasn't been bad at Martinsville, but he hasn't been great. At Martinsville, he's got an average finish of 15th, which ranks 15th, and an average running position of 18.95, which ranks 16th. At the short tracks, you can see he hasn't been as good, but at Martinsville, it's clearly been his best one. If we look at Bubba even farther into this coming in, he's got an average finish in the last 5 of 21, but an average running position of 14.66. So he has been running better than he's been finishing, so that's encouraging. Bubba does need a top 14 to pay off his salary. I don't really expect him to get that, though, so I just don't. He's, again, not a play. We're getting into the price range where it's like DraftKings really did start pricing guys smartly based on where they're starting, and it's harder for me to really say I really want to play like Bubba Wallace here. Up next, we got William Byron starting 15th. If you watched last race and had a lot of William Byron like me, it was not a good sight. It's not what we were looking for. Christopher Bell, no, Christopher Bell ran into Jones. Someone ran into Byron at the beginning of the race, cut his tire down, went 8 laps down. That was the end of it. It was unfortunate for me. That was a rough moment for me watching NASCAR. Anyway, Bristol hasn't been a great track for him. Average finish of 14.66, which ranks 14th. An average at short tracks is 16.58, which ranks 19th. An average running position at short tracks, or at Martinsville, of 19.45, that ranks 17th. An average running position at short tracks, 17.56, which ranks 19th. Now, he did get a top 5, I believe, maybe top 10 at Bristol, so that really helps him out a little bit there. Coming into this race outside of Atlanta, though, Byron's been running really well. Average finish of 10.4 and an average running position of 10.18, and he needs a top 10 to pay off his salary. The thing for me with Byron is, yeah, he might pay off his salary, but do we really expect him to, really exceed it just paying it off? That's tough for me to see, so it's hard for me with Byron. I think he's just thin. I just don't think he's got as much upside as some other drivers do. But in this price range, there's really not a lot of guys I'm excited to play, and William Byron might be the best one, which sucks, but he might be the best one in this price range. So Tyler Reddick starts 14th. I'm not excited about Tyler Reddick today. I have no sample size. The only short track he's ran was Bristol. I took that out because he wrecked. He starts 14th. Coming into this race, Reddick does have an average finish in the last 5 of 12.75 and an average running position of 14.25. He needs a top 10 to pay off his salary. The thing for me with Tyler Reddick is Reddick's really exceeded over his career at tracks where you drive around the outside of the track, and even some short tracks like Bristol, you can do that. But Martinsville, there's no high groove. There's none of that. Reddick, this just doesn't seem like a track that suits him, and maybe I'm going to be completely wrong. He's going to kill his salary, get a top 8, top 7, but to me, this just doesn't feel like the type of track for Tyler Reddick. And, he's never raced here in the Cup Series. He's only raced one short track in the Cup Series, got caught up in a wreck. Now you get another track at night, where there's probably going to be a lot of wrecks anyway. So Reddick just doesn't feel like the guy to me. Okay, here we go. Daniel Suarez. I don't understand what DraftKings is doing. Why do they love Daniel Suarez so much? He's not been doing good. 70, they priced him higher than last week. Starts 37, so I guess they're trying to bait people into playing him, but 26.4 average finish. You just have these big reds around all the yellows and greens. I don't know. I don't get it. I'm going to continue to say this every single video I make. Do not play Daniel Suarez. The car is not good. Matt DiBenedetto starts 19th. This is a guy I don't really look at his past few years running because of he was not in that same car. In 95 car, he's in much better equipment now, and even in 95's got better equipment now. But when DiBenedetto was in it, the equipment was not as good. So now you have DiBenedetto in a 21 car, and I mean Martinsville's been a decent track for him even in 95 cars. You see average finish 18th, which ranks 20th. So I just expect that to go up, and DiBenedetto's been running well this year. Coming in, average finish of 16.5 and average running position of 13.95. DiBenedetto needs a top 14 to pay off his salary. We've seen him do well at Bristol in the past in that 95 car. I don't see why Martinsville couldn't be the same way. I know they're different tracks, but they're still short tracks, and DiBenedetto, God, I cannot say that word, has been running well this year, and I mean a top 14 is not out of the cards for him. I mean top 10 is not out of the cards for Matt DiBenedetto. So really like Matty D this week. 6,800 we got Ryan Newman. He starts 16th at Martinsville, and Martinsville's been a good track for Newman over his career. I know he's got at least one win here. He might have two. He's got an average finish of 15th in the last 2 years, which ranks 15th, an average finish at short tracks of 12.16, which ranks 12th, an average running position of 16.25 at short tracks, which ranks 12th, an average running position of 14.455 at short tracks, which ranks 14th. So Ryan Newman's been running well this year, or running well at Martinsville. Coming in this race, got an average finish of 15th, average running position of 18.28. He needs a top 13 to pay off his salary, so it's a little bit higher than his average, but Newman's shown potential at Martinsville in the past, and I just think he's safer because some of these guys are more wreck prone. That's just, I mean, it feels like I don't feel like Ryan Newman's someone who wrecks as much. I mean, he's way more experienced than some of these guys around him. He's older, he's more mature, so Newman feels good to me. He doesn't feel like someone who has a ton of upside, but again, a lot of these guys don't have a ton of upside, so Newman feels fine to me. I'll be playing some Ryan Newman. Hopefully he can get a top 10. Maybe he can go get himself a win. That'd be dope. So, next we got Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Yeah, this is not the play for me today. 6,700 starts 17th, but, I mean, in better equipment than he's in now. Stenhouse been trash in Martinsville. Average finish of 19.66, which ranks 23rd, and an average running position of 21.2, which ranks 22nd. And Ricky Stenhouse needs a top 13 to pay off his salary. Not really interested in playing Ricky Stenhouse here today. Just not really one of his tracks. Eric Jones. This is the most, I think, going to be the biggest debate for me on if I'm going to play Eric Jones this week or not. Because Jones has been bad at Martinsville. So I'm not hating the salary as much this week. I mean, he's got an average finish of 21st, which ranks 24th. An average running position of 17.633, which ranks 15, which is not that bad. So that really does tell me that maybe Eric Jones just has, the finishes have sucked, but he's been running pretty well. So I don't hate it as much. Now, last week Eric Jones was running really well, a top 10 car all day, and then he got run into by Christopher Bell, blew the tire, went a lap down, then he got a speeding penalty, wasn't able to recover from it, and it sucked because that killed my lineups. But before that, I mean, I took out that race, so he's got an average finish of 5.25 and an average running position of 12.325. So he's been running really, really well. And he ran well at Bristol. He had a top 5 that race. So Eric Jones is fine to me. He only needs a top 12 to pay off that salary. If you're telling me Eric Jones is not a top 12 car, that's a lie. He's in a Gibbs car, one of the better cars in the field. He can definitely finish top 12. I mean, honestly, in my opinion, Eric Jones is always a threat to win. Maybe not as big a threat as some of these guys, but he's always a threat to win, in my opinion. And he's better than a lot of these drivers up here. So if Eric Jones finishes top 12, he pays off the salary. I think it's scary. I don't think it's a good cash play because of his history at Martinsville, but he's been looking pretty well, pretty solid this year, and I could totally see ways that Eric Jones finishes top 8, top 9. Eric Almirola starting second. No, just he's not going to finish second. He's going to finish top 15, and he's going to have so many PD losses by that. It's just not even worth it. Ty Dillon at 6,200 starts 30th. Ty Dillon has not been terrible at Martinsville. I mean these numbers aren't great, but for someone his price, they're not bad. 18.5 average finish, which ranks 22nd. 20.45 average at short tracks, which ranks 24th. 20.925 average running position at Martinsville, which ranks 21st, and 22.36, which ranks 27th at short tracks. He's fine to me. Coming in, average finish 25th, and average running position 24.075. He needs a top 21 to pay off the salary. Top 21 for Ty Dillon. Scary, bro. It's scary. It doesn't feel like the best position for him, but he can do it. He's thin. It feels like another thin play, which I feel like I keep saying over and over again. All these plays seem really thin. The only one with legit upside to me is Eric Jones and Matty D. He's fine, though. If you want to play Ty Dillon, play Ty Dillon. I'm not really too excited to play Ty Dillon, but I'm not saying, oh, it's a terrible pick. Austin Dillon at 6,100. This is another one like Eric Jones to me that's interesting because he sucks here. Average finish of 21, which ranks 24th, and average running position of 21.4, which ranks 23rd. So he's not been good here over his career at all. But coming into this race, I mean, Austin Dillon's having the career of his year, or the year of his career. Average finish of 11.8 and average running position of 13.36. He's been running really, really well. And all Austin Dillon needs to pay off his salary is a top 17. So you're telling me Austin Dillon has been running, is he really that bad at Martinsville that the way he's been running this year, he cannot finish top 17? I don't think so. I think he's fine. Now, there's a chance he might not race. Allmendinger might be subbing in for him. I don't know what's really going on. I just know that's a thing. Then that's a different story. Don't play Austin Dillon. If you find out he's not racing, don't play him because he'll get 0. So Cole Custer starts 27th place. You know what's crazy? You can get 0 points and still have more than some of these guys because it's negative crap. All right, sorry. Cole Custer starts 27th at 5,900. I have no data for him for short tracks, but Cole Custer coming in is an average finish of 20th in the last 5 and an average run position of 22.125. He needs a top 20 to pay off his salary. He can do it. I don't expect him to get higher than 20th, so it's sort of thin to me again. Keep saying that, but he's fine. He's a good value play if you need one. Corey LaJoie starts too high. There's no way that he finishes high enough to pay off his salary. Ryan Preece, though. I like Ryan Preece. 5,700, 28th starting spot. Now, Ryan Preece in Martinsville's been pretty good. Average finish is 17.5, which ranks 19th, and an average running position of 19.65, which ranks 18th. So Ryan Preece has shown talent here at Martinsville in the past, and for starting 28th, that really shows like he could do something for me. Ryan Preece needs a top 21 to pay off his salary. All of his averages here are better than that. He's got an average finish coming in the last 5 of 21. So he to me, all signs point to Ryan Preece paying off his salary. He's my favorite play down here in the 5K range. I think he's a good play. Chris Buescher's another one. Chris Buescher's been terrible this year. I'm just so shocked because he's in such a better car and he ran so well in that 34 last year. But whatever. In the last 2 years of Martinsville, 17.25 average finish, that ranks 18th, 19.925, which ranks 19th. But this year, recently, he's got an average finish of 20th and an average running position of 21.42. He needs the top 20 to pay off that salary. He can do it. He's talented enough and he's got the good equipment enough. Just is he going to suck? Hopefully not. I'm going to be playing Chris Buescher. Chris Buescher and Ryan Preece are the two best plays under 5 or under 6K for me. They're better than you would expect. I mean, like, they shouldn't be that price in my opinion. John Hunter Nemechek starts 18th. No data for him either at this track. He's coming in average finish of 17.33, average running position of 19.525. He needs the top 17 to pay off his salary. He's fine. I just don't. I mean, do we really think he's gonna? See, last race it almost felt like John Nemechek fell back to earth. You know. Like, he ran, like, 25th the whole race, was what we kind of expected from John Hunter Nemechek all year. And do we think he's going to get top 17? I mean, he could, but, like, it feels kind of thin, and I don't really think he can get higher than that. I just don't think he has upside. Michael McDowell. Draftkings hates him, man. They have Michael McDowell price below Sorensen and Timmy Hill. Now, McDowell's been bad at Martinsville. Average finish of 25th, which ranks 27th. Average running position of 23.4, which ranks 25th. McDowell starts 29th. He needs a top 23 to pay off his salary, but he's running pretty well. Last 5 races, 19.6 average finish, 21.78 average running position. So McDowell's been fine. I just don't think he's got as much upside as someone like Buescher or Preece does. So that's really it for driver by driver. Let me go through and rank them by salaries. So in the 9K range, I would rank Keselowski, Logano, Kurt Busch. In the 8K range, I would rank Christopher Bell, Blaney, Boyer, Bowman. But I think Boyer's going to be lower owned, and I think that he might be the better play in the end. In the 7K range, I'd go Matty D, Byron, Reddick, Bubba, Suarez. Screw that guy. I didn't even mention Kenseth in the 8K range. That's how bad he is. In the 6K range, I'd go with... I think I'd go Austin Dillon first. It's risky, but I think I'd go first. Then I think I'd say Newman. I think I'd say Jones. I think I'd go with Stenhouse because he has PD upside. Then Ty Dillon. Then Almirola. In the 5K range, the best value plays, I would go with number 1, Preece, number 2, Buescher. I'd say 3, Custer, 4, McDowell, 5, John Hunter Nemechek. So that's really all I got for today. If you really enjoyed this video, please hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave a comment. All that stuff really, really helps me out there and get to be shared with more people. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you really enjoyed it. Good luck to all of you.